what's new for EDSA and the future generally. Sir, you were basically talking about, comparing, electricity distribution or charges under NPA versus what we are seeing now under EDSA. And you were saying that, before now, meter tampering was quite notorious, comparing it to modern day. You can just finish up with that thought before we continue.
Yeah, so, of course, I made reference to during the time of NPA.
Yeah.
So now, as we stand, we have improved on our generation capacity as EDSA, because then it was NPA. And also, you may realize that during the time of NPA, there were no aggregator sales. There were no, when people were queuing to even get access to tokens for their meters. So now, if you go to EDSA, we have decentralized that. We also have third-party agents, which we call aggregators, because you can also even use the mobile telecommunications companies to even buy token and insert in your meters. So we've made it very easy to access. That is one development that EDSA brought in. Also, as I said, we've been able to probably commence rehabilitation, expansion, and configuration of our network distribution infrastructure. You mentioned in your statement that there was a broken network, an aged network, and because of that, we experienced so much instability in the supply chain. Now, you can't compare during the era of NPA and EDSA because there have been much improvement. We've installed more poles, we've installed more transformers, we've changed most of the early panel. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. So the rehabilitation, expansion, and configuration is still ongoing. So also, if you look, you check our service areas. I just mentioned the way we've configured our network into service areas. I mentioned 6 service areas. So if you check, each of those 6 service areas have its own primary substations. For instance, if you go to Aberdeen, just very close to the police station, you see a very big primary substation. That station is responsible to receive bulk power and release to our customers because, Aberdeen, we have most of our MDs and MDI customers residing within that environment. So we've done that in all of our 6 service areas. Right. That's an improvement.
No, but back to EDSA, every year we are faced with the same difficulties. You have to shed load. You have to release some of the load. I would like to ask, how many power sources do we have at the moment? Generation from where exactly, and how many of them are working fully operational in the country?
So, firstly, let's don't forget that electricity development is not instantaneous. It takes time. For instance, if you decide to start a project this year, probably it will take you 3-4 years before you start feeling the impact of that project. So, and that is why most of the projects are very cost effective. They are very, very expensive. So, the thing is, there are projects that we are getting the impact now. They started 3-4 years ago. So what we're trying to say is it's a continuation. It's a continuation. Even as we speak, last year we knew we had issues, so we had to plan coming into 2026. I'll tell you, most of the challenges we are faced with last year, we've reduced on those challenges, and also working to ensure that by next year, 2027, we should have surpassed most of the challenges that we have faced with this year. So, for instance, you had the minister when he came here on AYV. He did say that, firstly, we're about to complete the respite project, which will provide 30 megawatts for Freetown. He did say that we are working on the Nant energy power plant, and that will be completed as well, which will help build up on our generation capacity. We also have other solar interventions that are coming in. So, of course, we know by this time next year, we cannot, I'm not going to be be futuristic about it. We cannot face the same experience, challenges we are faced with today.
Careful,
because we are
never.
planning. No, I'm careful.
Okay.
I know we have timelines to the completion of some of the projects. So by Q1 next year, we should be able to complete, for instance, the respite project. It should be operational. We are looking at from now to December, but that's why I said Q1. By Q1, that should have been operational, which will take care of the rural, mountain, and far east.
So how much megawatts would that be generated?
It's 30 megawatts.
Would that be enough for the entirety of Freetown?
No, it's not for Freetown. It's going to add
Freetown.
up. It's not for Freetown. It's going to add up to the generation capacity.
Okay.
It's going to add up, and it's at Newton. So just imagine, it's also strategically located. We already have Newton that has around, I think, 10 megawatts. So if you add what is coming from the respite, you add that to what is now at Newton, then it will build up on our generation capacity, which will be able to serve the rural mountains and part of the far east, which will help us. It will release the load from 1619, and we'll be able to supply to other areas.
What about Freetown? Let's talk about Freetown for a while. I mean, it's the most problematic area for EDSA.
Rural mountain is Freetown. That's rural mountain starts from Wilberforce to Bathurst. That's
so you're saying this project, Freetown will benefit largely from that 40 megawatts?
Yes, largely, yes. And we will have 10 megawatts for Lunge, for the airport. So those are some of the things. We have Nant, of course. You've heard about Nant. It's coming up. It's more than 100 megawatts. So Nant is also going to help bring more release for EDSA when it starts operation. So, and there are other solar interventions. So we believe that, yes, of course, we are a bit challenged now because we don't have the much required megawatt to supply to our customers at this time. And also, don't forget, there are also plans to add up to the generation capacity of Bumbuna, so that during the dries, it could also supply similar capacity.
We'll get to that later.
Yes,
phase 2.
That's also, no, it's not a phase 2.
Not phase 2.
Not phase 2. Phase 2 has its own challenges. This is just an upgrade of the Bumbuna.
Of the one, okay.
Yes, it's upgrade. So that is also something the ministry is trying to commence. So there are a lot of projects in the ministry that, as I said, energy development.
What do you lack? Funds or
it's not. No, when you have to look for financiers. Of course, we have donor partners. We have the World Bank, we have AFDB, we have JICA. For instance, JICA has commenced the construction of the network distribution infrastructure for the peninsular axis. That work has commenced. So that will be completed probably in the next 1 or 2 years. Once that is completed, then the whole of the peninsula, right down to Waterloo, will be connected on the grid. So that's another development. So World Bank is also doing a lot of intervention. They've just completed the rehabilitation and expansion of the Bo-Kenema rehabilitation network. That is, right now, if you go to Bo, they are having brand new network, transformers, poles, every panels, and all of that. We have other projects that are ongoing. So we believe that, yes, of course, as I said, energy development is not a one-off thing. It's a continuous, it's work in progress. It's work in progress. I mean, day in, day out, we are adding up to our customer base. So once you are adding up to the customer base, it is expected that you should also plan to increase on the generation capacity, because customers are going to be added up on your supply chain on a daily basis. And also we're having industries that are coming up. We're having more offices, more businesses. So we are planning.
So you're expanding as an institution.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the business model of
Okay.
EDSA itself. These electricity interventions you working on now, the solutions or contributing solutions to some of the problems, how are you funding them?
So you have, there are some that are funded by EDSA itself, but they are not that major. The major projects are funded by donor partners.
So EDSA cannot fund itself?
So for instance, the 7 district electrification was funded by the government of Sierra Leone. Some part of those highlighted township having completed, others are ongoing. They are near to completion. So, and that's purely funded by the government of Sierra Leone. There are other projects that has to do with the customer service satisfaction based configuration, installation of AMI meters that are funded by EDSA. There are projects that are funded by EDSA, provision of meter, replacement of meters, ensuring that the network is configured, is designed to accommodate the generation capacity. All of those projects are funded by EDSA. But as I said, the ones that have to do with major expansion, major projects are either sponsored by the government of Sierra Leone or by donor partners.
So NPA failed to run efficiently under its business model it had. When EDSA came, you tried to bring about some of these solutions, from postpaid to even prepaid. But the business model that EDSA is currently working on, one, you say the money that people are paying for electricity does not even suffice. It's not commensurate to what you're giving out. That sounds very concerning. It's a faulty business model. To the international partners and even the money that government itself is putting into the expansion of electricity sources, the whole point of that, the return they're seeking in that investment, is that the people of Sierra Leone would get access to electricity. But the business model EDSA is running on in itself is scary and concerning. So you don't seem to be functioning as a business.
So I'll tell you
effectively.
I'll tell you that EDSA has a very attractive business model. I'll assure you of that.
How attractive? And when you say,
yes,
even when we went to the part of that we owe car powership that much money, much of the explanation we've been getting from the energy sector is it's hard to pay them because the electricity you're already distributing, people are consuming the electricity. It's not the entire country that is stealing electricity. You still have a chunk of people that are actually paying for electricity, but still you cannot manage.
So Phoebe, I know this is not new to you when it comes to discussions surrounding power theft. You know, year in, year out, different administrations have had this conversation.
But you've not given us a percentage of, you know, the power theft. Is it 100%?
So it isn't 100%.
So what percentage is power theft?
So we're at 40% power theft.
40%?
Yes.
So there's still a 60%?
So yes. So imagine. We have
that pays for electricity.
Imagine we have our MDIs and our large customer base. It is expected that we should get bulk of our revenue from our large customer base, because the domestic customers, I mean, mostly they buy 100, 200. I mean, the highest you could buy, some people could buy, is 1,000. So we mostly rely on our industrial customers, our large energy users to generate revenue. But it may interest you to know that more than half of our large energy consumers are not paying appropriate energy bills.
How is that so?
And that is why we have even contracted the services of a company called Deloitte from Ghana. They are in country now. They are visiting one industry to the other. They are looking at the metering infrastructure. They are configuring those meters. They are doing testings to ensure that the readings of those meters are commensurate or aligned with our supply infrastructure. So
could it also be that because of your inconsistency in electricity supply, look at this, what happened this morning, a few minutes ago, is a testament of that. We had to switch on generator. So if most of the time these institutions don't get electricity from EDSA, they're using generator, which would be more expensive for them running on generator than running on EDSA. But if you're inconsistent with supplying electricity to those institutions, those areas, those facilities, how then do you expect to generate much more from them?
So Phoebe, as I said, Deloitte conducted a study, and the study proves that out of 10 customers they visited, 6 of those customers are stealing electricity. Out of 10. That tells you the length of which power theft is moving within Freetown. That is just one. You mentioned about power reliability and affordability. Let me tell you, for instance, we are seated in the central business district. If you look at our load shedding, we don't have much problems with supplying power in the central business district. Those living within this geographical area or zone could attest to the fact that there is most times 18 to 20 hours electricity supply in the central business district, because we know that times like this, people require electricity to power their offices, to power their services, and to carry on with life and businesses. So it is a priority for us that we make power available for the central business district, especially during the day, so that people can go about their normal daily operations. That's not a problem for us. As I said, where we are faced with challenges is mostly the far east and the far west, and it's because we are faced with certain limitations. You know, we earlier on had a conversation on expansion and customers coming up day in, day out. So because of the establishment of industries, of businesses, and construction of buildings day in, day out, our infrastructure is moving on a daily basis. And because it's moving on a daily basis and we did not prepare, we did not plan to accommodate those houses, so we are challenged with line limitations. That is why we had said before that probably if there is an expansion within a community, it's also very important for stakeholders within those communities to come to EDSA, make an application for extension of power lines. Because once you do that, we will be able now, our planning department could sit, go to those communities, conduct studies, and bring up recommendations as to what's the transformer required, what's the megawatt we should be looking at, and generally the construction of network distribution infrastructure. So the fact is, yes, as it stands now, we require more generation capacity, more than what we have. We want more power in the country. And as I said, we are doing international trade. We are buying power from CLSG. We are buying power from Guinea. But also, there are times they also require more power than we do, because at times like this, they are also faced with hydro challenges. Their dams have gone down. They are also utilizing thermal plants, which is more expensive. Even us here, as it stands, I earlier on told you guys that we are in a situation, we are in the dries. Our Bumbuna hydropower dam gives us not more than 5 megawatts. I mean, what could 5 megawatts do? We are going to supply to Makeni, Mabuka, and to Freetown. So obviously we rely on car power, we rely on the thermal plants, we rely on our trade agreements with CLSG and Guinea. So that is why when the minister came here, he did assure members of the public that yes, times will come when we will be faced with challenges in getting everybody accessing electricity. It's obviously not possible at this time in the dries. But however, we are working, we are putting modalities in place to ensure that year in, year out, we build on the generation capacity. We ensure that we develop our home hydrologies and ensure that we are necessary, we extend and expand electricity infrastructure. And those projects are ongoing.
Nepo, what would it take for EDSA to become a profitable business entity to a point that electricity supply becomes accessible and available to the public?
So
because
firstly,
you run on prepaid meters, the more access people get to the electricity, the more money you stand to make.
So
the less access they get to electricity,
Phoebe,
the less money you would make.
I think what we also need to do is I'll have to arrange a conducted tour for the media to go to EDSA office, look at the store where we keep meters that we retrieve from the field. We have a team that we call a revenue protection team. They are in zones. They go out on a daily basis. It will interest you to know that every day they go out. They bring people, go to the CID. They bring plenty of meters, retrieve from the field. Two things, either abstraction or faulty meters. And most of the faulty meters becomes faulty intentionally because of human interferences. So go and see. And we have thousands and hundreds of meters packed at EDSA office. And if you go to the CID, you can go and check for yourself. You'll see the reported cases. Because when we go to the field, when we apprehend people, we report them to CID. In fact, we go with police officers. Their own job is to arrest once we are able to establish that this person is found stealing electricity. So your question, the number one answer is that everyone should inculcate the habit of paying for electricity. Let us stop this thought that power should be paid for by the government. I mean, once we know and we believe that, yes, of course, we have to pay for electricity, that is the start of the viability of EDSA. That is for one. Secondly, we have made an application, and to our members of parliament, that is the Energy Parliamentary Committee, we want to tighten our laws. Because, I mean, if someone is found stealing electricity and the law is just probably you fine you basic amount of money, people may just intend, let me just go and pay and forget about it. But we have the laws, but mostly the laws are not followed through. That is why what the board has engaged the ministry on is to ensure that we also establish a fast-track court. A fast-track court that will deal with EDSA matters on a daily basis. Because we are getting rapid cases. Every day, people apprehend people on the field. We bring them to CID. Of course, you know, once you hand over cases to CID, it's a different ball game. So what we want now, we've met with the judiciary. They are working towards ensuring that they establish a fast-track court for us in certain locations. Once that is established, and when our guys go out, they apprehend anyone, it's just to charge them to court for the crimes they are committing. So for me, also we are calling on Parliament to help us to tighten the laws. We are also calling on the judiciary to facilitate and fast-track the establishment of the fast-track court. All of this, if all of these are being implemented, then I will assure you that EDSA will continue to be viable and will start getting the monies, our monies from customers. Because as it stands, Phoebe, we are losing. Okay. And the government, most times, you hear that Kappa ship wants to go off the grid. Who bears the burden? It's the government. The government has to come in and pay for on behalf of EDSA. It's because the monies we are collecting are not sufficient to pay for the services rendered by independent power producers.
Let's head to Zoom now and join Trevor Young. Are you still there? Good morning, Trevor. It's a pleasure having you on our program this morning. Can you hear me? I only assume you can hear me. What are your concerns? Are you still there? Or it appears as though we've lost Trevor. We'll try to get him before the conversation ends this morning. But still with NEPO, I've listened carefully the conversation between you and Phoebe. Now, the bottom line is, NEPO is that you are drowning in debt. You owe the Kapashi millions of dollars, as the new Minister of Energy, Mr. Grant, confirmed in the studio a while ago. You're not making much, from, sales of, electricity in the country. Is meter tampering, meter bypassing, vandalism and all of these kinds of things. Energy officials say 55% to 72%, of electricity revenue is lost due to these things I've mentioned. Now, according to media reports, the inspection campaign in March of last year, 2025, reported that about 80%, of inspected meters in parts of Freetown showed signs of tampering. 80% out of 100. That's wowing, egregious, if you like, even 80%. Just 20 to top it to 100. What I find disturbing is this, Nepal. Again, you can, make your point. You can argue all you can. I find it disturbing that in the face of all of these staggering, nerve-wracking statistics of meter tampering and illegal, activities, theft generally of electricity in Sierra Leone, there is little, prosecution for these crimes in Sierra Leone. There are allegations, widespread allegations even, that offenders pay unofficial settlement, quote unquote, fees to EDSA staff who visit these places, mostly these big companies in Freetown. They settle back of the door, unknowing to even the EDSA, authorities. They don't go to court, they don't charge these people, And I read yesterday that it's about 50 million leones, 50,000 leones that someone can pay for these things or go to 5 years imprisonment. You could be making more money with prosecutions in court rather than outdoor settlements. You are losing money.
So I think that confirms my earlier submission. So all what you said, they are facts.
But it's your staff who are to blame.
So let me tell you, you don't just blame our staff. You also blame the consumers because it's connivance. Again, as I said earlier on,
but should they be conniving really with the people?
They shouldn't.
That's the question.
They shouldn't. We have very good staff as well, but they are
not all of them. Really, but not all very corrupt people.
I do agree. There are some who are engaged in acts of such that you've just highlighted. So that is why I said the first call we are asking from the public is to inculcate the habit of paying for electricity bills, because most times they still power supply, they tamper with the settings of the meters and the distribution infrastructures, because by tampering with the settings, it limits them from paying the actual amount they are consuming. And once our staff visit their premises, they tend to bribe them. That's the fact. They attempt to bribe them. So there are some that will resist. Obviously there are some that will accept. We have to be very frank in this conversation. So we are saying that is why we brought Deloitte. They've conducted the studies. Part of what you've read, that study was done by Deloitte. So now what they are doing, they are also configuring the meters to ensure that those meters that have been tampered with, especially for our MDI customers, that's our large energy users, they configure it in a way that aligns to our operations. And also what they are doing, they are planning to install communications modules. For instance, so if we have a dashboard at EDSA, if you tamper with your meter, it indicates on the dashboard that something is wrong with this meter.
Why haven't you introduced these things earlier? Because a while ago, you, very in Sanepo, were here, you were saying that these meters were the most secure the country has ever purchased. But it turns out that was a big joke, in fact.
No, it is. It is.
Are you sure that they're still tampering with these meters?
You can Google the cost for AMI
meters. How is it that people are tampering with the meters every day?
Yes, because
80% tampering.
You know why?
That's astonishing.
You know why? We also have electricians out there that have gone to institutions that have knowledge in power manipulations. So most times they have been hired by these large energy consumers.
So we have very smart criminals in the country.
we do. We know it's indicative on the reports that things like that. You read it. I didn't read the report. You read the report.
I read it, yes.
Yeah. So it means you are well informed. So these are some of the challenges we are faced with as a sector. Even when internally we try to streamline things, we try to make things go the right way, we also have people out there that are also studying, that are also tampering with our infrastructure. So day in, day out, there are times, Phoebe, we spend money in replacing vandalized infrastructure that we shouldn't be doing that. We should rather use set monies to probably expand or improve on the network. But mostly, for instance, let me set an example. Just 2 weeks ago at Lunge, they vandalized all of the transformers. All. I'm stating. All in Lunge, as I speak. All of the transformers.
Why?
They are vandalized in Lunge. I don't know. And
haven't you found out what happened?
And those who went there, those who went there, there are certain times they'll vandalize a transformer, they'll take away cables and other parts. But in this situation, they just went and vandalized the transformer. They didn't take away any of the parts. They left it there, they vandalized it, and now it is left with EDSA to go. We've gone there, we've held community stakeholder engagement, we've spoken to chiefs, the MPs, and all of that.
Who are these miscreants? Who are these people?
Exactly, so they are now investigating it. So could you imagine, also in the same Lunge, someone was apprehended, taken to the police. The person was released the next day until we had to call headquarters air police for them to rearrest the person again. That is the problem we are faced with. Someone went vandalized distribution network infrastructure that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of the perpetrators were apprehended and was released later by the police until we had to intervene again. So these are the challenges we are faced with. Similar vandalism is happening right across the country. Bo Kenema Kono, in Kenema. I told you about this Bo Kenema Rehabilitation and Expansion project. This project is sponsored by AFDB, African Development Bank. One of the biggest substations constructed They went there, they vandalized a substation. That it was over $1 million. They vandalized it. Let me tell you. Now it is EDSA that has the responsibility to procure the vandalized parts and repair and maintenance the infrastructure. So we are faced with these problems day in, day out. That is why I said part of the problem of EDSA lies with the public, because we may not be everywhere at the same time. That is why we've been calling on community stakeholders to take ownership of the infrastructure. Because, for instance, if there's an infrastructure serving AYV community, it's for AYV community. If there's a problem with that infrastructure, who bears the burden? It's AYV. You experience, AYV and its environs will experience power outages. That's why we said, if you see someone interfering into EDSA's infrastructure, it is also incumbent on you as a good citizen to ask questions. What are you doing there? What do you have accreditation to access this infrastructure? If it's not available, then you can raise the alarm. We are calling on the general public to help EDSA grow, to help us develop, to help us apprehend people that are out there interfering with our infrastructure. Even the meter tampering, it's done by people outside. It's done by people outside, and they do it in collaboration, in connivance with the consumers. So that is why I said we go out on a daily basis. I think we have to visit EDSA to see the gravity of some of the meters we retrieve from the field based on power theft or interference or tampering of meters.
All right. Joining us in the studio, we have Victor Idrissa Lansana, is the Vice Chair of Human Rights Commission Sierra Leone. We have a lot to talk about from the human rights perspective, but let's start it with electricity. Is access to electricity, part of human rights?
You're going to put me on the spot now, right? But of course, yes. The right to electricity forms part of what we call the third generation of rights, which is development rights. And it's when it is available, it enhances several other human rights. So kids will use it to study. That means there is access to education. The hospitals will use it. That will enhance the rights to access to health. I mean, several other rights will be enhanced when there is electricity. Over the years, we have done poorly as a country. I mean, since independence, we are still here talking about electricity, which under international human rights law, it forms part of the basic minimum core. We expect that 60 years as a grown man, 60 years as a man, as a human being, you should be able to actually take care of yourself. But as a state, for a very long time, we're still grappling with water supply. It's not just electricity. Water supply, electricity, housing. These are things that we should have actually passed as a state. But, unfortunately, we are here, we'll come back here some other time, we'll still continue to discuss electricity and these basic amenities of life. We are still struggling. So we are concerned as a commission because it's the lack thereof, deprives the enjoyment of several other rights. And I mean, I agree with my brother when he talked about the fact that there are hooligans or miscreants who have different motivations for vandalizing their infrastructure. It's really, I don't know how citizens want the country to go. In as much as we know that we agree, I mean, nobody should come here and begin to think or say as if government doesn't have the responsibility. Government has the huge responsibility of making sure that there is electricity. But at the same time also, citizens have duties to make sure that they protect infrastructure, to make sure that they preserve infrastructure that are really meant for enhancing electricity supply. But unfortunately, we have several miscreants, hoodlums all across the country, attacking. For what reason, I don't really know. Sometimes people say, oh, it's based on politics. I mean, how would really you look at or use politics to go and vandalize infrastructure? That when it is there, it serves everybody in the community. What sense?
So
What is the rationale really?
institutions that are charged with the responsibility of providing these rights are put under pressure by institutions like even Human Rights Commission Sierra Leone to deliver to the people. But on the part of the responsibility of the people to these rights, it brings us to situations like this where people resident in the country would go to a particular area to vandalize. Nepo just said the vandalism didn't even, they didn't, it wasn't, you would not allege that it's robbery or theft.
They didn't take away any parts.
Nothing was stolen.
Not for economic
Nothing
reasons.
was stolen. It was just to vandalize, assuming that it's just to disrupt the system. The responsibility of these same people who are supposed to benefit from these facilities as a right. It seems to be a problem.
I agree with you entirely, Phoebe. I agree with you entirely. And the rationale is what really I'm grappling with. I'm trying to understand what is the motivation. If you go and attack an infrastructure of EDSA and then destroy or vandalize, and in this recent case that he's referring to, nothing was stolen really. There was no part taken away. So clearly the intention was just to disrupt and then make EDSA look very bad. Well, EDSA is already bad. So why are you why are you going ahead to make it look very, very bad? So Sierra Leoneans have to understand that much as the Constitution places obligation on the state of Sierra Leone, on the government by Section 5 of the Constitution, the same Constitution also placed a very huge responsibility on citizens by Section 13 of the Constitution. To say you have to be patriotic, you have to ensure that you take care of government property, you have to make sure that you grow up your children in the best way they should be so that they become very good citizens. You have to ensure that you assist law enforcement officers so that there is law and order in your community. So all of these are responsibilities and duties that have been placed on citizens of Sierra Leone. They have to understand that no country will develop merely based on what government does. It's not possible. It's not, but I mean, nowhere. We want to be like Singapore. We want to be like Rwanda or Ghana or UK or America. None of these countries will see that the responsibility was squarely on government to make that country develop. No. So it is the responsibility of both governments and the people of this country, the ordinary people. If there is an infrastructure for us in the community and you go and destroy it, it affects everybody. So now when EDSA comes out to say, oh, we have interruption because of vandalism, because of A, B, and C, what then becomes of the man who is compliant, the man who pays, for electricity? He has his meter, he buys electricity, top up as the case may be, or token, and then there is no electricity supply. I mean, what argument can that man actually take home and satisfy himself that, oh, I should, in quote unquote, bear because somebody else somewhere has vandalized, has done A, B, and C? I don't think that it is fair on the part of those who are compliant, for them to buy electricity and they don't have access to it. It's not fair. I mean, there's no way I could actually explain that. So EDSA has to do more. Government has to do much more to ensure that people who actually, buy electricity, those who pay for electricity, they have access to electricity. It's not just to pay. You pay, but you have to have access at the same time. So, yes, we agree. I mean, we EDSA is on our pains, but also let us ensure that those who buy should have access, should enjoy that right. It's very, very key. It's very important.
Victor, let's move away from electricity for a bit. Now, Amnesty International Sierra Leone said that the rights of women and girls continue to be violated, although legislation outlawing early and child marriage was passed. Now, there's a lot captured. There was at least one allegation of police brutality against a journalist, and a political opposition member was subjected to enforced disappearance. The right to freedom of peaceful assembly and expression continues to be threatened. The growing use of harmful drugs and a shortage of surgeons undermine the right to health. Deforestation as a consequence of illegal mining and logging continues. As the Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, this sounds bad. It sounds like human rights violations are everywhere, here and there. How badly are we doing? Is it getting worse or better?
It's a very good question you've asked. We have the human rights landscape of our country. It's really sometimes so difficult for you to be able to give a straightforward answer to it based on the fact that, there are categories: third generation, fourth generation, second generation, third generation. Where are we doing badly? I mean, to me, for the Commission, we are doing badly in terms of the second generation and the third generation. Second generation talks about economic, social, and cultural rights. That is where you have the right to education, the right to health, the right to housing, the right to employment, and so on and so forth. So we are doing badly in the second and third generation. We have done well. I mean, we are doing well in terms of the first generation, which really has to do with the civil and political rights. We know, I mean, all of us are aware, I mean, how the laws we have put in place. As a matter of fact, constitutionally, those rights, the first generation of rights, are justiciable. You can enforce it in a court of law. But the third and second generation, the second and third generation of rights are not justiciable. Section 14 of the Constitution is very clear. If government is unable to provide electricity or water, as the case may be, you cannot take government to court on that. So right there, we did not take these basic amenities seriously. We said they are not justiciable. So we have placed so much emphasis on the first category of rights, the right to freedom of expression, of freedom of speech, freedom of movement, privacy, all of these things. So what you have just, the excerpt you have just read from Amnesty, really creates a picture that should be alarming to all of us, to see that there's much more we can do. But to answer your question directly, I don't think that we are doing so badly that in terms of particularly first generation of rights, for the heavens to fall. I think there is really room for improvement, and even though there are laws, and that is really the beginning of making sure that people are able to enjoy their rights when there are laws in place. The next step is to make sure that people understand that these laws are in place, and then at the same time to make sure that the laws operate equally and directly, so that people understand that if you break the law, there is a consequence. The law should be blind to whosoever that comes before the law. But if we begin to pick and choose, in the application of the law, then it becomes a very serious problem. So, as the Human Rights Commission, we are always concerned when these issues come up, because we believe that it is only when we imbibe the culture of human rights, in our country, making sure that children, young people, they get to understand and accept, the culture of human rights. All of us should grow up, embracing the culture of human rights. Even governments should understand that the country cannot develop if their development programs are not human rights centered. If they are not human rights centered, no matter what we do, we will not have a sustainable development. So that is what we believe, and government has to understand that an institution like the Human Rights Commission, we don't come out to say these things because people normally see us as anti-government. No. As a matter of fact, it was established by government, we have been paid by government, but we just want to make sure that things really work out well for everybody, so that it doesn't matter which party is in power. I mean, I don't want to have a situation where people call me from Kenima, from Kailang, Mr. Lansana, I've applied for social documents, I need social documents, I need protection, I need your voice. I don't have to. I want to see a country where things really work, government is effective, and there is really competence. If you apply for a job interview, you don't have to come in because you think I know somebody in the institution. Let people be assessed based on their competence, based on what they can bring to the table, and not who they are or where they are coming from. It is what they can really provide, what they can bring to the table should be the goal. And that is what we want to see. The rule of law, the issue of competence, the issue of making sure that there is respect for human rights. Everybody, government plays its role, citizens play their own role, and they will be fine as a country.
Victor, something actually drew my attention. I was reading the National Crime Statistics 2025 police report. These are hair-raising statistics. Let me just, I'm sure you are concerned as a commission. Sexual penetration of a child increased to 1,946 cases, almost 2,000 just in 1 year. At a time when we have, a state of emergency on rape in Sierra Leone. Are you concerned as a commission? So these are staggering statistics. Almost 2,000.
Yeah, it's staggering. Look, of course.
Have you looked into this?
Yes, of course we are concerned. We have seen the report. But then, where do we start to address such an issue? The police will know is the institution responsible to investigate and prosecute, correct? Yeah. So if they are that institution with that responsibility, we all know that several cases that go to the police do not see the light of day in court. Particularly so these sexual offences cases, there are still compromises.
Community settlement.
Yes, exactly, settlements. When in fact the law says if you compromise, if you settle, it is against the law. You are committing an offence. So the police, whilst we agree, we appreciate them for bringing up these reports, but they themselves have to understand that it starts with them. They have to make sure that across the country, people who come to the law, they want to have solace. They believe that it is only when they come to the law they are able to get comfort. But then they come to you, and at the end of the day, you don't take the matter seriously. We have seen, we monitor. There are several cases where Mr. A comes with his case to the police will drag its feet, and then Mr. B comes later on. There are two parties to this allegation or this transaction, as the case may be. Mr. A's report will be swept on the carpet, and Mr. B's report will be taken on board, so that you see clearly that there is bias, and that actually gives way to pent-up anger. People begin to think that, I'm not being protected, and the law is very clear. The Constitution is very clear. There should be protection, security of the person, equal protection of the law. The law should be applicable to everybody. So these are the things. Several of these complaints, sexual offences cases, sexual penetration cases, they are there with the police. When we investigate, the police will tell you, we have sent the file to the DPP's office. Then we engage the DPP's office. Go and ask them to give us CC number. Go and ask them to give us the specific reference number to show that, in fact, we don't have those files here. So, there is a very disjointed nature of the criminal justice system, which actually is undermining the enjoyment of human rights, and which is making this the rate of crime, is multiplying. It is because they are not addressed.
Who do you blame for this, really? Who do you blame for this?
No, I've just said
the Sierra Leone Police Complaints Board on the one hand.
No, I've just said. I've just said it is where you start. They are the ones that bring the cases to court. They, of course, will also say, sometimes we send these files to the DPP's office for advice before we can file, but we don't get the advice. So, like I said, there is a disjointed nature in the criminal justice system. We have the police, we have the judiciary, we have the prisons department, all of them put together, they form that hub. But then the police are the ones who actually, on a daily basis, interface with the public. They are the ones that do the investigations. They are the ones that will charge you, that will detain you. They are the ones that will take you to court. They are the ones that will prosecute. I know, of course, there are some cases for the states. It's the law officer department that normally prosecutes. Yeah. But most of these cases that go to the magistrate court, they are being prosecuted by the police. So it is the police that should start to take the blame and ensure that they put mechanisms in place to be able to reduce that staggering statistics that you have just get.
Another thing I noticed, which is quite staggering, is the 12,301 domestic violence cases as well. What? It has even gone by 60% since last year.
By the way, I listened to you. Congratulations. I followed your interview. A documentary. Oh, okay. A documentary did with you. I think went to Kenima.
Yes.
I listened to it. You had the testimonies from women. So pathetic. We have a case. We come to court. We don't get justice. So a lot of people say, no, I don't go to court anymore. Why should I go to court? So this is the problem. This is really the problem. That is why normally when I say to people that the things you hear on social media or on mainstream media around politics, this is just a minute. It's just a minute. The number of cases we have in court or the police, they far more exceed the political cases. These politicians, they have access to media. Okay, they have money and so on and so forth. But the ordinary Sierra Leoneans who come in conflict with the law. You don't get to hear about their cases on the media. They are suffering. Look at the statistics. Look at what you did in Kenema.
Yeah.
You heard from ordinary Sierra Leoneans, women, who testified that, oh, I was beaten, or sex was grave, blah, blah, blah. All of these things will come to court, will come to the police. The police do not actually do anything for us. So where do we go? And justice is a commodity. Yeah. It's like electricity or water supply. If there's a shortage of it, then I become really angry. Sometimes people take to the law because of that. You see, so we have to create the environment where justice will thrive. Just like supplying water, making sure there is electricity, it is the same way by supplying justice, because it's a commodity. People want it.
Who do we force to do these things?
No, I mean the institutions.
The conversation should begin,
No, yes, the institutions. I mean, they are the ones that take the lead. I've just told you, this is the criminal justice sector. So the police, they are the ones that take the lead. And then they come to the courts, the judiciary. The judiciary, I mean, we have done about every day we investigate.
And there are a lot of reforms going on within the Sierra Leone police at the moment. They say they are reforming.
What are they reforming? No, but they've come here, they've come to the studio and several other media houses. They've told you about reforming the police. Now they are going into police service, which is really about the police for the community. But I mean, would say maybe the reform is too slow. I mean, too really and very, very slow, that they have to speed up. But I mean, come on. We should have passed this stage. 2,000, I mean, reports of 2,000 cases of what you call rape or sexual offenses. I mean, it's struggling, because now, imagine we did not have law. We did not have the law, so we thought that, it was because the legal framework was weak or was non-existent. Then we got the law. Early child marriage. We abolished, we criminalized. And then we brought in the Sexual Offences Act. We even amended in 2019. Now it's also under another amendment, another review. But even when all of these laws are being put in place, we are still having these cases going on. Because, those who are supposed to do their work are not doing their work. There's no better way to explain it. There's no better way to explain it. So we have to make sure that we reduce the statistics, the number of cases, the number of offenses, or the crime rates that is going up around sexual offenses, sexual-related offenses, and penetration. We have to do much more. Our girls are suffering. Our country has a population about the total population. We have about 52% of it that are women. And we see what happened just recently. I mean, come on. How would you, after all of these years of advocacy, we say, okay, let us bring up the girl child, in an environment that will be safe for the girl child. We've done several things. I mean, kudos to government. But then the Child Rights Act came into being. Okay, I mean, you amended, or you repealed the 2007 Act. And then you could not actually clearly criminalize FGM against the girl child. So, I mean, the more we do things, the more we are being held by those sometimes bad cultural practices, and then also the attitude of Sierra Leoneans themselves, the ones who are supposed to really do the work are not doing the work. And we continue to come here to discuss the same things over and again. We come here after 10 years, 20 years.
And it makes it sound or seem like a hopeless situation where, with all the talks, with all the research and data, at least the statistics we see, we still come again, year in, year out. Over and over, we're having these conversations. It sounds hopeless.
I will depart from you a little bit. While I agree with you that it's a dire situation, I don't think it's a hopeless situation. And the reason why it is not hopeless is because, in the first place, we have legal system. We have laws. That is the beginning. A country that does not have laws to address those issues, is as good as doomed. So that is the beginning. So now it is about the willingness.
What good are the laws to that one person who has felt so aggrieved, trusted the system, went to make a report in search of justice, who has not been able to get that? How good is the law, or how good are the laws to people like that?
No, the law is good, but it's about the implementation. Those who implement the law are the ones that are not doing the job. But the law is there. It's in the books. So just implement the laws. But then there should be an oversight authority. If you, who is, for instance, the police officer or investigating officer, you failed in your duty, then the oversight of bossman or supervisor should be able to take an action. But in our country, I tell my sister, in our country, people are afraid to take the blame. Quote unquote, and one forbid the person where they put blame in mouth. That is our problem in our country. Everywhere you go, I'm sure every year there's that kind of attitude. You want to take decision, you want to reform. You see things going on badly, but then you don't want to take the action because you think it may hurt this person. Or if I report it to my supervisor or to the boss, there will be a decision that will be taken, an action will be taken against this person, and then this person will now come to blame me. Oh, I don't do this, I don't do that. So we have to be ready to hurt people. We have to be ready to offend, to hurt people. If we don't hurt people, this will not change. We'll come here and discuss the same things. We know these people. They are there. They are there in the communities. I mean, these are public servants who are receiving salaries on a monthly basis. Yet they don't want to take the decisions. Yet they don't want to do what is supposed to be done by as the laws prescribe. So we have a problem at hand.
We know we need to release you so you can go
exactly.
to court. But as we round off with you, in the apps, it's less likely, mostly, when there's a situation within the Sierra Leone police. Either it involves one of their own, or perhaps they've not done something as they ought to have done. It's less likely, mostly, that you would get any of them snitching on the other to bring it to light. So the challenges are not just from the Sierra Leone police, it's with the judiciary. But what do you think the media, the civil society space, Human Rights Commission of Sierra Leone, what do you think we can do? What role can we play to effect a change positively?
The rules are prescribed in our constitution. The rules are there. I mean, we all should know the rules. Unfortunately, this country, people don't even read their constitution. I don't know what is the percentage of Sierra Leoneans that actually have read our constitution. And that constitution, people normally say is the government, is the supreme law. But even the ones that are educated, whether they are professors, they are degree holders, they have never interacted with the constitution, I tell you. So if you are a police officer, you have not read the laws, how would you be able to properly, implement the law? There are policies, you don't read them. Sierra Leoneans don't read. We don't read and then we want to make a change. There's no way. So civil society organizations, their rules are well cut out, for them to make sure that they hold leaders accountable. But how do you hold leaders accountable when, if you yourself are not accountable? You're not accountable within your own organization. How would you be able to hold government accountable? So, journalists, over the years, we have been able to actually see that human interest stories are now coming on. Like I said, I listened to Victor, and there are several other people who have been doing such a thing. So we have to not just talk about the politics of the day every time, all the time. Those human interest stories, that will create a change, that will create awareness. As journalists, we have to go in for them. But unfortunately, when things happen in this country, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's it. That's the end. We have to continue to follow the stories to the end. Make sure that they are alive. Make sure that we report on them. And then political parties, it's not just the government in power. Not just the government in power that is responsible to change the country. We have the section 35 of our constitution. It's very clear. It gives the responsibility, it places onus on political parties to be able to shape the will of the people of this country. Make sure that they are aware of issues, make sure that they orientate them, they sensitize them on how they should behave as citizens, on how governance operates. But we have a country where political parties, if you are not in power, you think there is nothing you can do towards development. I believe that political parties, those who are not in power, they should be able to be providing, advisory notes. They should be able to provide policy briefs to say we are talking about electricity. This is our own model. If we come into governance or into government, this is what we can do. This is the best way we think can be done. So you are able to provide alternative But in this country, our politicians, it's just about coming to power and remaining in power. We don't provide policy briefs to say this is an alternative policy that we will be able to use if we vote us to power and to change the narrative. You talk about water supply. Has any politician given you a model that they think will be able, to address the issue of water supply? I mean, I'm 43 years old. Since way back in Kisi, I used to fetch water, tote water, from one place to the other. I went there a few months ago. It's the same thing. The same thing. The same area. So you ask yourself the question, how much have we changed? Apart from just coming here and talking about freedom of expression, of speech, blah, 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 without really addressing the issue. How would you have a constitution that tells you that the basic amenities of life should not be justiciable if government is unable to provide them? But freedom of speech, they are justiciable. Freedom of movement, they are justiciable. So we are not even prioritizing. So everybody has a role to play. Ordinary citizens, read Section 30 of the Constitution. This country will not develop. Mark my words. It will not develop if we think it is only government that has that singular responsibility to develop it. We have to ensure that as ordinary citizens, we play our own role. We make sure that we are patriotic, nationalistic, and assist government and law enforcement officers in maintaining law and order in our societies. Parents, according to the Constitution, they have to bring up their children in the best way so that they become, good citizens and not liabilities on the state. So these are all things that we have to get our citizens to understand whether you are a PhD holder or an ordinary market seller or Okada rider or taxi or Poda driver. You have to understand that this is what the Constitution or the country requires of you. So there is an expectation of everybody, whether you're in government or out of government, you're an ordinary Sierra Leonean or a school-going child, the state expects something of you. But unfortunately, the state has been suffering in the hands of everybody. The state has been suffering. The state gave us birth and then gave us the opportunity to live in it. But then how much more are we contributing to develop the states? So we have a long way to go as a nation collectively, opposition parties, government parties in power, the government, and ordinary citizens, journalists, whichever, all of the institutions, we have to play a role, constantly, so that we'll be able to have a country that is better and fit for purpose that all of us, our children, grandchildren, will be able to enjoy. But unfortunately, for our own generation, we are spent force, I would say. Thank
you very much, Victor, for your time this morning with us. I would read few messages and head to Studio 2 for sports. Victor Calon, a lot of Victors today this morning.
Indeed, a lot of Victors.
Victor Calon says, from both a human rights and moral perspective, how can leaders promote justice while also maintaining peace and unity in the country? Minister Abdul Denke says, largely in Sierra Leone, the fundamental human rights are being undermined on a daily basis. The rights of people are not justiciable. Not justiciably protected and catered for, and that puts a question mark on our judicial activities. Francis Kabia says, government is not building a system in the country. There are more messages we would read out. Let's take a pause on them. We head to Studio 2 and join Marie Esther Samoa for the latest in sports. Good morning, Marie.
Well, you and I are put on the same color this morning, actually. Shame on Phoebe, actually, for not wearing this, you see?
I think you're putting on...
Look how ostensibly radiant I look this morning. She is actually admiring.
Did you hear her? You're not wearing the same colors.
No,
you're in orange, and she's in red.
Esther, are we not wearing the same colors?
You're in burnt orange.
Wait to talk to me. Not to the same color.
Don't pants get in.
You see what it is?
Good morning, Marie.
Good morning to our viewers all around the world. Well, for sports updates this morning, Vivian, of course, we still focus our attention on the Labour Premier League. The Eastern Lions Football Club secured as we all go with last season's runners-up Bantam Football Club. We heard from the head coach of Eastern Lions Football Club, Mohamed Kamara, yesterday when he spoke about the outcome of that match. Well, today, we'll be in the exact informed the head coach of Bantam Football Club, John Kone, about his own take about the outcome of that dramatic play of
I was not looking for this result, but since we've got it, we're okay with it. We knew very well that it's going to be a tight game because we want to win, they themselves want to win. But yeah, we'll accept whatever the results, become at the end of the day. We want to be the champion. That's what exactly we are working towards. We want to be the champion. We cannot be the runner-up in the previous league, and now we are down. No, we are not going to accept that. We'll fight and make sure that we win the league. That's our motive. Because we've scored more goals than all the teams in the league. That shows that, our boys are going forward. So there's nothing we are afraid of. Believe on our boys. They know exactly what is going on and want to be the champion as well.
It was a symbolic and signing ceremony.
Sierra Leone Football Club and the SLFA Academy in Freetown. Away from that now, in tennis, the Sierra Leone Tennis Association has officially signed a one-year deal, a partnership agreement with tech-led organization Chloe Limited aimed at promoting tennis in the country. Mohamed Zikuba has more.
It was a symbolic and signing ceremony
between
the Sierra Tennis Association and their potential partner, Colleague Limited, with the sole objective to promote and develop young athletes and the overall development of tennis in Sierra Leone. Speaking on behalf of Colleague Limited, the managing director, Cynthia Tusuma, highlighted the significance of their partnership while emphasizing its potential benefit for athletes and the future of tennis in Sierra Leone.
Usage of drugs, drug abuse, and so forth. And we are also trying to be part of the growth for the nation of Sierra Leone. And so partnering with the Sierra Leone Sports Tennis Association really helps. It's one of the ways we're trying to encourage young people to go into sport. I spoke about resilience and I spoke about discipline earlier. When you're playing sport, you do automatically become very disciplined. And so this initiative is just one step into something bigger for us. It's important to also encourage the youth. Instead of sitting, do something, movement, And also we're living in a world of digitization. As Collie, we are aware that, even if there's digitalization, it means that people don't move. The youth, the children are always on.
In his remarks, Annie Bam, president of the Sierra Leone Tennis Association, described the agreement as a timely initiative that will create better pathway for players and contribute to sustainable development within the sport.
A vision to transform tennis in the country, and to have this partnership with Collie, it's a great opportunity and it's a great privilege for us. And so I want to say thank you, first of all, for giving us this opportunity to be part of this signing ceremony today. The SLTA, the Sierra Leone Tennis Association, over the years, we have had some tussles, but we are happy that we are moving forward and with our transformative efforts. Over the years, few years after the hitch, we have tried very hard to transform tennis in the country. We've had a couple of tournaments, and in line with that, we've had few contracts and MOUs, and it's a great pleasure to have one with Collie, and we are.
Following the signing ceremony, representatives of both organizations were also seen displaying their tennis skills during a friendly session, symbolizing the spirit of collaboration and commitments.
This morning, over to you, Vivian and
Indeed, thank you very much indeed, Esther. I know you will not agree that we are wearing almost the same colors, but we look splendidly, sweet, in these colors. I know that Phoebe is a bit disturbed by the fact that she's not wearing one of these colors this morning. But anyways. There are two messages, Sanepo.